Раз.
Yeah. So everybody, please take your seats. We'll start soon. If you see people without headphones, tell them to pick up those headphones, because otherwise they will not hear the translation and they will not hear the participant who is speaking online. So everybody's ready and we're good to go. Dear participants, dear guests, please take your seats. Or at least not stand in front of cameras. It's a pleasure to welcome you all at the first panel discussion of the Human Capital Dimension. My name is Kirill Krivolap. I am managing partner of Civita in Ukraine and the co-founder of the Center for Economic Recovery, an analytical platform which was created in 2020 to assist the government with many challenges it faces. And it is an honor to moderate this important panel. Please take on your headphones, otherwise it's like a silent party, like a silent disco, you know?
No, non è solo.
Otherwise it would be too noisy if we speak all together in all the halls. Yeah, please take it on. You will also hear the online participants. Yeah, so the topic of human capital in Ukraine was historically a bit overlooked at the URCs, at the previous URCs. But in the fourth year of war, one cannot overestimate the importance of human capital in Ukrainian resilience and recovery. And probably that is the reason why the human capital dimension has one of the biggest representations during this today's conference. It has 9 panels and several workshops and labs. And this is the reason, actually, why we have so many top speakers on the stage today. Ukraine has 32 million people on the controlled territory and probably up to 30 million of forced migrants, labor migrants, and diaspora with descendants abroad. And this is why the engagement, return, and reintegration of Ukrainians is opening the whole human capital stream at the URC, and this is the name of this panel. And today we have with us Minister of Interior of Italy, Matteo Piantedosi. Please welcome. Mr. Oleksiy Chernyshev, Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine and Minister of National Unity of Ukraine, online. Yeah. Hello, Mr. Chernyshev. Mr. Oleksiy Lukashuk, Deputy Minister of National Unity of Ukraine. Then we have speakers that may cover the topic of projects that support forced migrants abroad and internally. And this is Mr. Filippo Grandi, UN High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR. Mr. Roberto Galtieri, Mayor of Rome, Italy. Ms. Amy Pope, Director General, International Organization of Migration, IOM. Then we have speakers that can cover topics of human rights and human rights protection. It's Mr. Michael O'Flaherty, Human Rights Commissioner from the Council of Europe. We have Ms. Ylva Johansson, long-awaited EU Commission Special Envoy for Ukrainians in the EU. We have from Ukrainian side Mr. Dmytro Lubinets, Human Rights Ombudsman of the Verkhovna Rada. We have speakers also who can contribute to intangible aspects of return and reintegration. His Eminency Matteo Zuppi, Cardinal Archbishop of Bologna and President of the Italian Episcopal Conference. Honorable Mario Giro, Mediator for Peace, Community of Sant'Egidio. And Mr. Pavlo Grot, President, Ukrainian World Congress. And we'll have some interventions from the floor. So, on behalf of Ukraine, let me express sincere gratitude for what you personally and organizations that you represent do for Ukraine. We do appreciate it, and this help is very needed. So, as you can see, we have 12 speakers and just 75 minutes to discuss various aspects of Ukrainian return. And this is why my main role today will be actually timekeeping. And I will ask you to stick to 5 minutes keynote speeches in the first round of discussions. And then I'll give like a sign of like 1 minute. And after this 1 minute, I'll be really annoying, trying to stop you with all I can. And I kindly apologize beforehand. So, to open the panel, please welcome Minister of Interior of Italy, Matteo Piantedosi, with his keynote speech. If you want to come here, please do.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, guests, all representatives of authorities, for me it's a great honor to open this panel because this puts into the spotlight not just the importance of the reconstruction of Ukraine, but also the conditions of security that are necessary to make sure that those who come back find a country. To reconstruct a country is not just to build back up infrastructure, it means to restore legality, trust in the institutions, and to protect people from those who could be what could be the consequences of this emergency, such as weapons trafficking, human trafficking, and terrorism. From February 2022, we have welcomed 200,000 Ukrainian citizens, and they have found protection thanks to the Ukrainian community that had already established itself in our country. And those who didn't have a network of family members found a network of the public administration for welcoming them. And welcoming does not just mean provide a roof over the head, it means also offering measures for integration. And it was full of solidarity, especially towards the weakest. We have created language programs, integration programs. We have psychological and legal support, initiatives that have helped tens of thousands of people to understand how the country works and that have made it easier to access important services and that have made them more autonomous. We have also more recent projects that are very important at a human level. I might cite here the Roman Sports Center initiative of June 2024, where Ukrainian children have played sports and shared moments of leisure with the sons and daughters of our officers, as well as the project created by the State Police Mountain Resort program, where they could play with peers. And it's important to create social cohesion and international collaboration, and in order to promote this, we have supported the decision of the Council of the European Union to extend the temporary protection for Ukrainian citizens until the 4th of March 2027. And this gives stability and legal certainty to those citizens, and they can look more serenely towards future. Of course, temporary protection is by nature limited, so we need to also create a transition program at a European level. We are outlining a way to help people to move over, and in order to create a place for them to go back as well. Of course, Ukraine is also a country of opportunities. Once this is all over, there will be a reconstruction at a material and civil level, but there is also room for new businesses, for skilled labor, and for social innovation. It will help people, and we need to help people to go back and use those opportunities in order for them to have the adequate competences and also be in contact with the institutions and have a support network. We need to give them in Italy a legal status that is consolidated so that they can stay if they want, and that's why we have agreed to a proposal of the Ukrainian government to create a unity hub in Italy. This is basically a room that was created for the Ukrainian community in order for them to receive professional counseling, legal support and advice, as well as updated information and explanation regarding the Italian and Ukrainian situation and how to live in the countries. We think that it is important to keep up the contact with that part of population that, even though it's far away from its homeland, is an incredible resource for the future of the country. It's full of competence and is decisive to kickstart once again the community, the economy, and the country itself. We hope that the Unity Hub might reach its goals, and for this it is important that all players that are involved give their contribution, which means we need to have a dialogue with all ministries that are part of the process. We need also a continuous dialogue with the Ukrainian authorities, and also we need help by the European institutions, international organizations, the third sector, as well as religious organizations. And only by mobilizing jointly and by sharing a common effort, we can make this happen. By promoting dialogue, in order to create this project, in order to support Ukrainians during the process of going back to their country, we have offered the full support. By we, I mean my ministry and the Italian police force, in order to support technically as well as an operative and as a training level the citizens. Ukraine is facing an arduous path, but one full of potential. And if we look at that future in the right way, we can have a great result, and it will be a free country, a European country, a country that's full of innovation and that's capable to welcome back its citizens and also to foster those who've stayed. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Minister. Perfect timing. Switching to Ukrainian government. Unfortunately, we cannot send the whole cabinet of ministers to Rome, and somebody needs actually to handle the homekeeping. So for his speech, let us welcome Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, Minister of National Unity of Ukraine, Alexei Chernyshov, via the video conference.
Thank you, Kirilo. The homekeeping is under control, as you say. Dear friends, colleagues, and panel participants, I'm very happy to welcome you today to a panel discussion. Before I begin, I would like to thank each and every one of you who made this conference in Rome possible. This event is important for many reasons. It creates a space for professional discussion about Ukraine's future, and also demonstrates that even in the most difficult times, we keep our ability to unite the efforts of governments, international organizations, and civil society. For the Ministry of National Unity of Ukraine, and for me personally, it's a great honor to coordinate the human dimension at this year's conference. We must unite our efforts around key goals: achieving a fair, lasting, and sustainable peace, preserving and developing human capital, supporting Ukrainians worldwide, and creating the conditions for their voluntary return when circumstances allow. We all know that GDP is formed by technological, financial, and human capital. Human capital is the primary resource that activates both financial and technological capital, especially in times of crisis. Therefore, people are not just one of the elements of recovery policy. They are its core, its greatest value, and the driving force behind Ukraine's recovery. That is why, without any kind of exaggeration or overstatement, I want to welcome you to the most important panel of this year's conference. I would like to emphasize, no recovery strategy will succeed without the people who implement it. And the unity of Ukrainian people is the key task of our ministry. The ministry was established just over 6 months ago, but much has already been achieved. We are grateful to the European Commission for its decision to create the Office of the Special Envoy for Ukrainians in the EU, and I am pleased to welcome Ms. Johansson here today. Ms. Ylva Johansson is known for her many years of consistent support for Ukraine. One of the areas of our joint work will be the creation of unity hubs to support Ukrainians abroad, the one that has been mentioned by Minister Pientedossi recently. These hubs will become a pillar of support for our citizens and will help them to adapt, study, work, and most importantly, maintain strong ties with Ukraine. I'm also grateful to everyone who today cares for our people around the world. Governments, international organizations, volunteers, all our partners. Your support and attention give Ukrainians strength and confidence in these challenging times. Much important work lies ahead to preserve and develop our large Ukrainian family. Today, it consists of more than 55 million Ukrainians worldwide. A significant number of them are currently outside Ukraine. The estimate is up to 25 million Ukrainians abroad. It includes several ways of migration, including pre and during Ukraine's independence and following the full-scale invasion. Ukraine stands and will continue to stand firmly to support every single Ukrainian regardless of where they are now. In this context, the introduction of multiple citizenship is a logical and long-awaited step that will help restore and maintain connection with Ukrainians around the world. Last month, the Parliament of Ukraine adopted a law on introduction multiple citizenship that was initiated by President Zelensky. This is truly a historic decision and one of the elements of preserving ties and unity with Ukrainians worldwide. Emphasizing the topic of our panel, I would like to note that the issue of the voluntary return of our citizens is directly linked to one of the key challenges of our state, the demographic one. Russia continues to brutally attack Ukraine's civilian population, and last night was no exception. And the full-scale war continues. By the way, at this very moment, we have been receiving information about announcement of air raid alert in Kiev and other regions. So the war is going on, and we should remember that. According to United Nations forecasts, the population decline in Ukraine will continue. But this is not our scenario. Ukraine has much work ahead to change this trend. Focusing on the economy, attracting investment, implementing urgent reforms, and creating jobs are the state's top priorities here and now. We will work intensively to create conditions for economic development, to support people, and to create opportunities for growth in Ukraine. Our unity is fostered by peaceful, successful, and by love for our homeland. These are the factors that can encourage Ukrainians to seriously consider the decision of voluntary return. The Ukrainian government and the Ministry of National Unity are keen on ensuring that all Ukrainians are successful, and we work precisely for this. We stand strong as one country, as one nation, as one voice. Our strength is in unity. Slava Ukraini!
Heroям slava. Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. We also have with us Deputy Minister Alexei Lukashuk to work on the fields of the conference. Alexei, we actually used our 5 minutes, but maybe you have something to add and you have a microphone to use.
Thank you, Kirill. Works? Yeah. Thank you, Kirill. Being mindful of the time limit, I would just like to use this moment to invite everyone for tomorrow workshop on Ukrainian diaspora, how to activate it and make it one body of nation, not people abroad, but again, one body of nation, Ukrainian nation, doesn't matter where you, in Ukraine or abroad. So please be welcome tomorrow on our workshop in the morning, 9 a.m.
Thank you. The next person to speak, I would like to invite Mr. Filippo Grandi, UN High Commissioner for Refugees. Mr. Grandi, you visited Ukraine 6 times. Yeah, this microphone is for moderator and for hosting country only. So like, if you don't have a conference hosting you. we need to use mics on the stage. So, Mr. Grande, you visited Ukraine 6 times, and you visited since the start of the full-scale invasion. You visited 8 regions, front regions, and you really, you are by far the most engaged Under-Secretary General in the UN into Ukrainian war. And you traveled around this country. You saw firsthand the impact of the war on people's lives. With this experience and with the mandate that your organization is entrusted, what do you believe are and will be the key factors for successful returns and for integration of Ukrainians to their homeland and their ability to contribute to Ukraine's recovery?
Thank you very much. In my mother language, but in English. First of all, I'd like to stress, it has already been said by previous speakers, and I'll move to return and that aspect, but the impact of war on civilians, as I have seen, as many of us have seen, continues to be devastating. And this is why the humanitarian work done largely by Ukrainian institutions, with the support of many of us, continues to be key. It's very important. We live at a time of decreasing humanitarian assistance. Please, let's not lower the guard in Ukraine, because people are still being bombed out of their houses as we speak. And in particular, I want to echo what President Zelensky said this morning. This is especially important ahead of winter, ahead of the third winter since the full-scale invasion. Of course, this has also an impact on displacement. There's 3.5 million internally displaced people. There's 4.5 million refugees in Europe alone, in addition to everybody else. One important point, let's remember, Ukrainian refugees, unlike most other refugees, do not flee from their own government, do not flee from an internal conflict. They flee because of the Russian bombs. And this makes them, they're still refugees, but they are different from others, hence the importance of what we're discussing here. I'm very grateful to the European countries, Minister Piantedosi said it, that have reconfirmed temporary protection till 27. I think it's an important tool, but it is equally important to evolve, to transition towards different arrangements to reflect the evolving situation, because, of course, in the spirit of this conference, it's very important to prepare the future. And it is very important, I'm glad that we're having this panel, the return of displaced people has to be part of any reconstruction plan. So as we continue to do humanitarian work, and this is characteristic of the Ukrainian situation, we have to contribute to preparing for the return. First, by helping people stay where they are. This is very important. This is part of the equation. Many people don't want to leave, but it's difficult for them to stay without help. That's number one. Second, we need to invest in the future of return. My organization is not very big. We do some, can I say, seed projects that are helpful, we believe, for the return. We help with house repairs. This is quick, doesn't have to wait for a full house reconstruction, and it's very useful. We work on legal aid for people who have legal issues with property, accessing subsidies. Very important to help people with psychosocial support, because trauma is very widespread. It's very difficult to forecast how many people will return and when. It depends also on the evolution of the military situation. Our surveys that are fairly reliable among people living abroad indicate a 65% rate of people that say we want to return, not necessarily right now, but as soon as conditions allow. This is fairly high in situations like this. Of course, the passage of time makes it more difficult, especially among the young population. So I really applaud what the government of Ukraine and other governments are doing to prepare this transition to return in order to ensure that the link between Ukrainians abroad and Ukrainians at home is maintained. My organization fully supports the Unity hubs. We will also ensure that our personnel in those countries, including in Italy, cooperate with sharing of information. We have established a tool, a portal called Ukraine is Home that is already being used by hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians that allows Ukrainians to have information about conditions in their places of origin. The last point I wanted to make is that let's not forget the more intangible challenges linked to return. In many places, I heard local NGOs, local community groups tell me one key challenge will be social cohesion. People have gone away, have stayed away during the conflict. We stayed here under the bombs. To restore the unity of the community will be a big challenge. This is a very important aspect of return that needs to be addressed even in the preparation time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a continuation of the topic of support of our citizens get abroad, I'd like to have Roberto Galtieri, Mayor of Rome, as the next speaker. On behalf of my compatriots, let me express gratitude to the support that Rome and Italy actually are providing to Ukraine, and I believe that your presence may mean some news for us.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, of course, City of Rome is very glad and honored to host this very important conference. And indeed, I agree to what has been said that talking about people, it's key for recover Ukraine. So this is really a key panel, a key topic. And City of Rome, of course, is ready to continuing its support to Ukrainian refugees that have been welcomed, helped, supported together with the Italian authorities, and also together also with the active participation a lot of NGOs, organizations, but also with the hug, let's say, of all the Roman citizens that have been since the beginning standing with Ukraine, which is facing this terrible aggression from Russia, which is continuing also in these very, very hours that we are talking. But it's important to prepare the future and also to keep and reinforce this link between, also because of the very peculiar nature of refugees, because exactly they are not fleeing from the country, the government, they are forced to flee. So I think this peculiarity explains and justifies the need for also for special tools to not just prepare the possibility to come back, but also to make of this situation also an opportunity from the links, the integration in the country which are hosting Ukrainian refugees and the homeland in the present and in the future. So indeed, we also are supporting this project of the Unity Hub. City of Rome is ready to contribute, of course, as far as this project will go ahead. All the government bodies which are part of it, we are supportive authority entity, but of course we decided to work in very beginning to identify also a place that, if needed, would be available for establishing this Unity Hub also in Rome. So indeed, yes, we have found a place. So if a potential candidate for a place has been already identified, there are spaces within the buildings which are owned by the City of Rome of Via Satta in Municipality 4 of Rome, which would be, if needed, made available for hosting a Unity Hub in Rome in order to have this exactly very important activities of providing services, administrative assistance, career guidance, cultural educational initiatives, and that's most important, tools to help refugees to stay connected with their homeland. No, so not to see what happened here separated from what is happening in Ukraine, but creating bridges, link that also in the future can ideally also make this experience abroad a tool, an asset, and not just a problem of having been forced to flee away. So that's, I think, I understand the philosophy, which is very interesting, of the idea of the Unity Lab. And as far as our role is concerned, we are ready, of course, to provide our support in close cooperation with the Italian government. So thank you again for this very important conference, and again, I extend my full support and solidarity to Ukraine, to peace, on behalf of the whole city of Rome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next to speak, we are happy to have Ms. Amy Pope, IOM Director General. IOM has been actually managing migration and community resilience since 50s, long before actually joining EU or UN ranks. How do you estimate the chances of Ukraine to bring back its citizens home, and what can international organizations do to help in this endeavor?
So first of all, a very warm thank you to the government of Italy for inviting us into this important conversation, and for the longstanding partnership we have with the government of Ukraine. That's first and foremost one of the key lessons learned. These strong partnerships will be absolutely essential. So as you say, IOM has been working on returns of people post-conflict, post-disaster since our founding. And I can say that we have some key lessons learned from our work around the world, whether it's returns after World War II or returns following the breakup of the former Yugoslavia, or more recently, the Iraq War. And first, I want to start by saying that we stand fully aligned with UNHCR in terms of its determination of when it's safe and suitable for people to go home. And that is a starting point for all of us. But that doesn't mean there's not work that can and should be done now. And first and foremost, I'd say, is understanding the population, recognizing where people of Ukraine have gone, what their skills are, what their intentions are, and what it would take for them to go back home. I know from speaking to many Ukrainians who are in Europe, a key issue for them is, can their children go back to school? Can they be part of a community? Is their house still standing? Is it safe for them to go play outside? So understanding these most basic, just human life calculations that a parent would make before they could go back into a post-conflict zone is critical. You also want to understand what their skills are. Are they doctors? Are they engineers? Are they construction workers? Are there skills they could now develop so that they can be part of the rebuilding? Because ultimately, connecting people and their skills is an important part of the reconstruction strategy. We also have heard from several folks about the importance of these unity hubs, and it's an idea that we support on the ground with our partners at UNHCR. And the reason we support it is that we recognize that the longer a population is outside of a country, the more attenuated their connection becomes to that country, and that's particularly true for young people. So making sure that young people have a place to go continue to speak Ukrainian, to remember the cultures of their homeland, for their parents to have connections back to the banking system or to possible mortgages, is all part of maintaining that crucial link. And then when we're looking at a moment of peace, a moment of possibility for return, we want to pair return with development. So once we know what the information about the communities where they've resettled, when they're thinking about going back home, it's a moment for partners to leverage that community with the development support. So in some parts of Ukraine, we know the schools have been destroyed. Rebuilding schools will be critical. So enlisting the Ukrainians in that rebuild will be key. Finally, I would say we've got to keep the economy going. It is critical, and I know this has been very important to President Zelensky as well. We cannot behave as if this economy should stop. So finding opportunities for displaced people to keep working, to keep contributing, will be critical so that there is an economy that is still alive at the moment of peace, and so there will be something for people to go back into. And of course, because I love to speak about migration, I'm going to say the government of Ukraine needs to have a plan to attract migrants, because even if we are successful in persuading Ukrainians to come home, estimates suggest that there may be 8.6 million workers who will still be needed to reconstruct Ukraine. And so having a plan to bring in workers through a safe and legal and dignified route will be critical to the future of the country.
That's very true, and the government of Ukraine is paying lots of attention now to social and economic inclusion. We have lots of reforms launched for that, and during the next panels we have lots of details on that. So you in the room still stay here, and you will know much more about the human capital development in Ukraine. The next to speak, I invite Michael Flaherty, Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights. Mr. Flaherty, recently you released the memorandum on human rights elements for peace in Ukraine. It's a very important and interesting document for policymakers, and I noted the following thesis. To silence the guns and to stop the physical violence is not enough. No just, lasting and effective peace can be achieved if it is not anchored in the international human rights framework. But how to achieve that when the international law is at severe pressure by autocrats? If not destroyed at all, if you ask people on the streets of Zaporizhia or Kiev. So how to achieve that?
Well, thank you very much indeed. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm delighted to have been invited. Let me at the outset, though, before engaging the issues, join with others in deploring the relentless Russian attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. These crimes are an outrage for which the perpetrators have got to be held accountable, and I'm proud to belong to an organization that's playing its role in creating the basis on which accountability can occur. But turning to the specific topic of returns, it's essential that the return of IDPs and refugees always occur in full respect for their dignity, and that is achieved by following the roadmap of human rights as laid out in the respective European and UN treaties and the other commitments. Now, addressing return issues from this point of view leads me to a few observations, and with apologies, I like lists, and so I have 8 specific points very briefly. The first is, as others have said, we must assiduously respect the principle of voluntary return. And I'm not referring here just to free choice, but also timing. States must avoid applying premature pressure for people to go home. Second, until return proves possible, we have to ensure decent conditions for displaced persons. Regarding IDPs, as I've seen myself, this requires ensuring decent housing, access to education and social services. For refugees, it recalls the need to stay invested in such supports as the Temporary Protection Directive. It's no less necessary to monitor and address any local lowered levels of welcome or even of hostility to refugee Ukrainians. And in tackling all of these issues, I'd like to join my voice to those who express great hope for the Ukraine Unity Hubs. I think it's a good idea that deserves our support. I also think it's an excellent idea that Ylva Johansson has been appointed as a special envoy. Moving on to my third point, eventual return will be greatly facilitated by a reconstruction that is people-centered. This requires a focus on housing and social infrastructure, as well as we heard this morning, demining. It also needs to address the particular needs of vulnerable groups, including persons with disabilities, a group whose situation was already problematic before the aggression. Fourth, it's both an issue of human rights and of good return planning to ensure restitution and compensation for war-related damage and loss. And I recognize the central role that's being played in this regard by the Council of Europe with the Register of Damage and a Future Claims Commission. Fifth, there is one community of returnees that require particular care and support, and I'm referring to military veterans. Their need for rehabilitation and psychosocial support must not be neglected. And here, of course, I deeply applaud such existing initiatives as those led by the city of Lviv. Sixth, we have to acknowledge that not everyone will want to return, as we've heard already this afternoon, and it will be necessary for their own good and for that of the host society to ensure their integration. And let's keep in mind, issues of family reunification will need to be addressed in this context. Seventh, as we tackle the range of issues, human rights require that we deeply involve all impacted people in planning and implementation. It's no less important to be thoroughly gendered throughout, recognizing the diverse experience and issues of women and men. I also recall that here the requirements regarding the involvement of women that derive from UN Security Council Resolution 1325. Eighth and finally, and very importantly, as we talk about these very many groups of people, let's never lose sight of the situation of two particular communities. The first is people living in territory under temporary Russian occupation. They are experiencing grave human rights violation. They must not be forgotten. The second is the Ukrainian children, as well as adults, relocated to Russia. We must intensify our efforts for their return, and I acknowledge with respect the important work on this being done by Commissioner Lubinets and others. To conclude, on my part, I will continue to play my part in supporting the human rights of the people of Ukraine, including through promotion of the implementation of the memorandum that I issued this week and which was endorsed this morning by the government of Ukraine. I thank you.
Thank you very much. It will be really interesting to speak more about human rights protection with Dmitro and Ila and Ms. Johansson. But from what I know, Your Eminence, you need to leave at 5, so we'd like to invite you to speak a bit earlier than the topic of those intangible things, because you dedicated a lot of time, if not like a part of your life, in dialogue with various stakeholders and leaders around the globe in many continents. So what's your insight, and what do you think about the perspectives of handling these immense challenges that Ukraine has?
Intanto grazie a tutti quanti, grazie.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity, because only together we can find a way out. Thanks also to the Ukrainian authorities, which have worked with us continuously. And what we have just heard is important. We have to think of those, especially children, who cannot go back, who cannot join their families again. And this is incredibly important to be mentioned. Everyone has a right to go back to their roots and have a right to be rejoining their families. I believe, and I'd like to stress, you cannot reconstruct a country without the refugees, because reconstruction goes along with their integration. Reconstructing the structure of the country means thinking of those who have left to stay, because that temporary protection that the EU has declared in order to give a choice to the people must be guaranteed. It cannot be something that happens now because there's an emergency and then just goes away. Coming back doesn't mean just picking up where you left. It means rebuilding everything from your home to your work situation, your family bounds. So I would like for all of us to think of those who were most vulnerable, or those who will have even a harder time to come back. I don't just mean children, I mean people with disability and all those who have become disabled due to the war. Those who have been mutilated. And this will be a return that's extremely strenuous and difficult for them, to those who are most vulnerable. I also remember fondly the many women. And why did the welcoming work out so well? Because they were welcomed by family where they already worked. But they never stopped loving their country. When everything has been destroyed, it is not easy to go back, though, no matter how much you love your country. And last thing I'd like to state, refugees, whatever the future holds, and it will be a different future for many, as we've said, some will go back, some will stay where they are. They will be a resource for Ukraine, If they come back to the country, they have experience, knowledge, and bonds to share. If they stay where they have been welcomed, they will support Ukraine, and they will be a vital bridge between Ukraine and these countries with regards to collaboration. And I'd like to end with a question. The real refugee, the one that needs to come back as soon as possible in the country, is actually peace itself. Thank you.
Very much. Coming back to my next question will be to Ms. Ylva Johansson. In Ukraine, we have a saying that nothing is more permanent than temporary. So what is the future policies our citizens can expect from the EU?
Thank you. Thank you. Is it working? Yeah. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here. And I think we are talking here about the Ukrainians and our solidarity with the Ukrainians and the returns of Ukrainians. It's important that we stress that the most important thing is to defeat Putin. Putin must not win. This is really the most important task that we have, and it will be discussed, of course, in other areas. And while we are doing this, we also need to be supporting Ukraine. We are supporting Ukrainians. And I think that First Lady Zelenska said it very well this morning. There is no country without people. It's the citizens that are the country. So that's why supporting Ukraine means supporting Ukrainians, whether they are still in Ukraine or they are living somewhere else. And I'm very happy that we now have a special Deputy Prime Minister and Minister Chernobyl with the specific task of the unity of Ukraine. So thank you for kind words for my new task. When I was commissioner, I managed to activate the Temporary Protection Directive that has never, ever been used before. It's a 20-year-old legislation. And nobody really thought that was possible, but actually we got the unanimous decision 1 week after the start of the full-scale invasion. I'm pretty proud of that. And I think it makes sense that I'm now tasked to see what will be the exit of the temporary. Because the temporary can be prolonged, as we have seen, and I think that's a very good decision, but we also need to go into other sections. So my task will be to support Ukrainians to fully integrate into their host country, into the labor market, and to transfer onto another legal status, if they would like to stay. Or to support Ukrainians when they would like to return, whether it's now or later, to give the good conditions for returnees. And I think it's important to have an open channel, because for most individuals, it's a difficult decision. You might have to go back and forth. Maybe your house is not there anymore. Maybe you don't know whether your school is safe for your children, and a lot of other questions. So it's important that we support all these practical things. And I think that the idea of unity hubs is a real great one, because this is a way to really provide Ukrainians abroad with all the relevant information so that they can make an informed decision, but also to keep in contact with their country. Because now I understand that, you know, a majority of Ukrainian children that will start school this September will do it outside Ukraine. And I think in solidarity with Ukraine, it's really important that we give good opportunities for these children to have the connection with their country, to be able one day to go back, if they want, when they want. And I think we heard this morning a lot of European companies that are ready to invest in the recovery and the reconstruction of Ukraine. And this is really great. And I would like to ask these companies, when you prepare for investment and reconstruction of Ukraine, bring Ukrainians with you. There are a lot of Ukrainians in the different member states. They are ready, I think, to go back. Start reskilling, upskilling them right now to be prepared to offer the jobs for the Ukrainians that go back, but also that we know that Ukraine will need more people in the workforce in the years to come. I think it was also a great decision on this multiple citizenship that Ukraine government and parliament is now taking. The last thing I would like to say is that this is all about solidarity. Solidarity with Ukraine, solidarity with Ukrainians. And if we really would like to show solidarity, we should not put a blind eye to any real problems, because there are a lot of real challenges. There are a lot of people with traumas. There are a lot of destroyed families. There were a lot of people with mental health issues. There's a lot of difficult things. There might be, like Filippo said, problems with cohesion, for people going back. So the best way of showing solidarity is to openly see also the challenges and to be ready to work, for me, closely with the Ukrainian authority, and specifically with Deputy Prime Minister Chernyshov, and also together with the member states to find practical and sustainable solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you. Switching to Ukrainian optics. Thank you very much for participation, kind words. Switching to Ukrainian optics. Dmytro Lubinets, Ukrainian Parliament Commissioner for Human Rights. I know that you have a presentation. It means that you want to really share some important numbers. I will ask the technical team to provide this presentation. And you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Yes, Real, we have a presentation. So I believe that we will have the opportunity to see it. So, distinguished participants, first of all, I would like to say that it is an honor for me to represent my country in this very important conference. You know, Ukrainians are fighting against Russian aggression more than 11 years. And from 2014, Russian Federation violates the whole system of human rights. Today, I'm with my colleague, Michael, and to continue to answer to your question, what we can do more, what we can do when the international system of protection human rights doesn't work. Because every day, every night, the whole territory of Ukraine under attack by Russian missiles, drones, and other weapons. So I think that, first of all, we need to understand our difficulties and challenges. And to understand that this is a challenge not only for Ukraine and for Ukrainian people. These difficulties for all of us. If Ukraine now continue protect our territory, our people, but on the same time we continue protect the another countries and another nations. Now we have different categories of Ukrainian people. Sorry, I apologize that I use this definition, but we have violations against Ukrainian people who still live on temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Civilian people, children. For example, today my colleagues mentioned about deportation of Ukrainian children by Russia. Can you imagine that the first Ukrainian child who was deported by Russian side, it was child from Ukrainian Crimea, and it was 2014. More than 11 years, Russian Federation openly did war crimes against Ukrainian children, against Ukrainian nations. And all this period, Ukrainian as a country crying about these war crimes. How we can stop these violations? We can do it only one way. And we need not only beat Putin, we need to destroy the Russian army and to liberate the whole Ukrainian territory that's now under control by Russian power authority. Next, we have a million of Ukrainian people who left our territory and now live abroad. Million Ukrainian people become refugees. How we can bring them back to Ukraine. First of all, again, we need to stop this war. Then we need to prepare conditions for returning Ukrainian people back to Ukraine. Children, women, people with disabilities, men, every different categories need to be understanding and to preparing for them new conditions in Ukraine. And we need to start this work now. In Russian side, we have more than 16,000 civilian detainees. We cannot provide exchanges for civilian people as for POWs. So as of today, we don't have any platform, any state with a status of negotiator between Ukraine and Russia for returning back civilian people. So again, we need to understand a new challenge, and we need to prepare a new condition, new mechanisms for returning civilian detainees back to Ukraine from Russian side. Next category is POWs. 95%, can you imagine? 95% of Ukrainian POWs were under torture while they were in Russian captivity. This is official number from report of monitoring mission of UN. We need to continue to provide pressure to Russia, to provide new sanctions, to provide new ideas how we can support Ukraine. So I want to use this opportunity to send several signals, messages to our international partners. First, please visit Ukraine as often as you can, simply to see the real situation for Ukrainian nation and for Ukrainian people. Next, provide long-term projects of assistance of Ukrainian people. Even when we finish this war, we will have a long time, long period with a huge difficulties and challenges. We need to be prepared for this time. And the third one, please involve people with unique expertise of protection human rights to different projects of recovery. I mean ombudspersons of different countries, experts, representatives of international organizations who can bring the new ideas with core stone message. That's when we discuss recovery, it means that we discuss about people, and people will return back to Ukraine when Ukrainian people will be understand that in Ukraine prepared every conditions for real protection human rights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dmitry. We have two more speakers with quite unique perspectives and quite unique insights. And I would like to invite Mario Giro, Honorable Mario Giro, former Undersecretary of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, mediator for community of Sant'Egidio. You've been dealing with peace since like 90s on very complicated cases of Balkans and not only. What's your advice for actors in this war?
Grazie. Very much the governments of Italy and Ukraine for inviting us in this huge event, very huge, because we are 9,000, they told me this morning, and they were provided only 5,000, and we are the double. This is the mark of interest, first. Second, that invitation also recognizes, acknowledges the presence of the community of Sant'Egidio in Ukraine since 1991. But allow me to speak in my mother tongue because we are in Italy and in my city of Rome.
What I would like to share with you is that, first of all, Sant'Egidio is in Ukraine ever since 1991, with hundreds of members. And I would like to thank some of them who are here today. And one of these is our responsible for Ukraine, who also speaks Italian. Marvelous, right? So he has worked with different forms of poverty. So when the war started in 2014 and when there has been the full-scale aggression in 2022, we were already prepared. And we were prepared and took care of many problems that arised due to war that you have discussed, and I don't want to list them again. It has been the biggest humanitarian action in our history, tens of millions of euros worth of operations, and of course we need to grant a future to those people. We have had our members going back and forth from Italy, Poland, France, Germany. Our members go there, help their Ukrainian brothers and sisters. We help those in need. And in this moment, our data suggests that we have helped 450,000 people with food aid and 2.5 million with sanitary support, which is a major key point in terms of medical assistance. And at the same time, we help 50,000 refugees in Europe, in Italy, in Poland, in France, and so on. So those are the three big numbers I'd like to share with you. But it is crucial to understand what are the conditions within which we can think of a return home. We need a social structure that will keep people set there. Filippo already mentioned it. Thank you. Because refugees have basically put their lives on a hold, and we need to foster their lives not to be precarious as much as we can, and we need to shape the conditions, and we've all said that, so that the return is not mandatory, it's not imposed, but it is a choice. I don't mean imposed politically, I just mean that they feel compelled by the situation, by controls, by laws. Well, and also we need to make sure that it's not compelled by a change of heart of the other Europeans, because we at Sant'Egidio have had much experience with the return of refugees. I'll just say one word: Syria. We work, and Filippo and we all know it, how difficult it is. Also, at a legal level, it is difficult to create that. So transition to return, as Filippo stated, it is important to listen, as Amy Pope has mentioned, to listen to the refugees. We share their view. And I'd like to also say that the temporary protection needs to be adapted to the changing reality, as Minister Piantedosi has said initially. Another friend that's helping us constantly, and I would like to complain something. I've been Minister for International Cooperation in Italy, and it is hard to understand why many European projects exclude Kiev. Kiev as a city is a war zone. It's being bombarded every evening. So yes, there is Kharkiv, there's the front line, but there is also the city of Kiev. So don't forget that. And coming to an end, refugees are not bad patriots. They're not bad citizens. We should not stigmatize them indirectly with our policies or with our words. We should not guilt trip them or expose them to negative opinion. We know how difficult it is to see reality for what it is and not to fall prey to a false perception. So there are intangible values, as you said, that we need to take stock of. And one of the most important values is not just subsidies, protection, also health aid, but also the friendship with the Ukrainian people, which cannot depend only upon solidarity. There must be a deeper reason, because solidarity, which of course is crucial. Remember, I've dedicated my life to solidarity, but it has to turn into a relationship, and someone said it, a relationship that's consolidated and that combines and that pulls us closer together and links Ukraine to Europe. That is the only true promise. Thank you. We need that.
I want to hug him, like, after these words, really, like, really about friendship and solidarity. Really great. Last to speak, we have Pavlo Grot, president of the Ukrainian World Congress. You are among the leaders of Ukrainian diaspora abroad. And my question to you would be, will Ukrainian diaspora remain, like, keep loving Ukraine from far, far away, or it will be a real, like, actor in Ukrainian recovery? What's your opinion on that?
Thank you. Short answer to your question is absolutely. Ukrainian communities have been living outside Ukraine for over 130 years and have been very active and stayed Ukrainian for many generations. And we have a formula for that. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that. So as the president of the Ukrainian World Congress, which is a 60-year-old organization that today brings together and represents the interests of Ukrainian communities in over 80 countries. We have member organizations in over 80 countries around the world, representing that 25 million Ukrainians living outside Ukraine. And I want to give that perspective to the whole question of return, reintegration, and engagement. And just before doing that, I took notes from Michael here, who had his top 8 list. And I asked Michael, why only 8? I'm from North America. We like top 10 lists. And he said, well, I only had 5 minutes. So if you had 6, it would have been a top 10 list. But then I went and counted mine up, and I said, I've got a top 7 list. So I'm going to try to get through that pretty quickly. First of all, I want to start off with quickly about my history. My parents were refugees. 80 years ago, they were forced, they couldn't return back to Ukraine. They were taken as slave laborers by the Germans as children to work on German farms, and they couldn't return to Ukraine. Why? Because of the Russian Red Army who had occupied Ukraine. And we face a similar situation today. And I want to share the experience of my parents and why I have grown up in Canada, born in Canada, but I'm a patriotic Ukrainian. I'm a patriotic Canadian, and I'm actively working to help rebuild Ukraine. And I'm not alone. I'm together with hundreds of thousands of other Ukrainians like me who are conscientious Ukrainians and are looking to help rebuild Ukraine. So let's start as to how we do that. I'm going to look at rebuilding Ukraine from the perspective of, and I agree 100% with the comments that Ukraine will only be rebuilt when Ukrainians return to Ukraine. But how do we have them return to Ukraine? And I believe that, number one, identity is the foundation for return. Identity is the foundation for return. And how do we build identity? It's critical for all of the countries that want to help Ukraine rebuild that they ensure that those Ukrainians that have either fled because of the war or came earlier, that they integrate but do not assimilate. It's critical that we keep them Ukrainian. And we have to change the politics of a lot of countries, in particular European and America. I come from Canada, which is very supportive of multiculturalism, to ensure that those people stay Ukrainian. If the kids stop speaking Ukrainian, the parents will not go back to Ukraine. It's as simple as that. And what's going to happen even worse is those veterans are going to leave their country after the war to reunite with their families. So we need to keep those people Ukrainian. And how do we do that? Number one is we need to build those institutions. My parent, sorry?
No, we have just 1 minute. We have to leave this place for other panels. But please go on, like finish your thought.
So we have to be focused on building those institutions. So it's really up to the host countries to ensure that they stay Ukrainian. And the final point I wanted to make here is that we need to focus on building a Ukrainian nation state. We often at this Reform Conference talk about economy, we talk about infrastructure, but identity is critical to Ukraine's security. If we don't maintain identity both of Ukrainians outside Ukraine and ensure that part of the rebuild is a discussion about Ukraine's identity as Ukrainians, that cultural identity is critical because that has been exploited by Russia to try to undermine Ukraine's sovereignty. So on that note, I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you for inviting me. And I invite all those who are interested. On Saturday, we're hosting a forum of Ukrainians in Italy, where we're bringing together 50 organizations, Ukrainian organizations in Italy, and helping them coordinate and helping them become stronger Ukrainian organizations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pavlo. I got a request to speak from State Minister Fuji of Japan, considering how important Japanese support to us is. I would like to invite Mr. Fuji here, or at least provide him with the microphone. Okay, thank you. You have 2 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, distinguished delegates. I'm Fuji Saiki, State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan. I'd like to express my deep respect for the efforts of all those involved in holding this wonderful session today. The realization of a just and lasting peace in Ukraine is very important in the face of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Japan has provided support to Ukraine in various fields, and in relation to the theme of this session, Japan focuses on human resource development support, especially for the returners, and has done our best to help the reintegration of the people of Ukraine. For instance, Japan supports Ukrainian young government officials in acquiring postgraduate degrees at Japanese universities. With efforts like this, we aim to nurture human resources who will play an important role in Ukraine's key development areas, particularly in its recovery and reconstruction. Japan also has long provided training programs for personnel of the Ukraine's public broadcasting stations. We provided a large broadcasting vehicle last year. It is important in our view to empower public broadcasting, as such a project will enable more Ukrainians to access to impartial information all across the huge country. This support, I hope, will play an important role in the country in which severe aggression is still ongoing, and thus many citizens are still forced to be domestically displaced. Furthermore, also in the field of mine action, which is a prerequisite for the recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine, we are working to develop human resources while providing the up-to-date equipment for detecting and removing mine, as well as starting the necessary expertise. Japan will host the Ukraine Mine Action Conference on October 22nd and 23rd this year in Tokyo. We intend to highlight the importance of human resource development in mine action and to promote cooperation among countries. Japan stands with Ukraine, and we intend to continue contributing to international efforts for Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction, together with other countries. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. This is just the example of that the world really stands with Ukraine, and we feel this support from multiple countries, even so far away as Japan. I thank you all for what you do for Ukraine, for what your organizations are doing for Ukraine, and for insights and contribution. The panel is over. Thank you all.
Signore e signori, vi prego di prendere posto. Stiamo per iniziare.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. Please take a seat.
Che è il nostro, come ha detto io, te diamo un ok. Gentlemen, please take your headphones. We are about to start. Sì. E poi Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. We are about to start. Signore e signori, stiamo per iniziare.
Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to start, and we start with a kick-off video about the resistance in Ukraine. Please start the video, start playing it.
Listen to the invincible. A heartbeat born over 1,000 years ago and never stopped. It rose through golden domes and folk embroidery, through the rhythm of dance and the fire of poetry. It lived in song, in stone, in thread and fire. It grew in fields, in pages, in the hands of artists, dreamers, warriors. Even the darkness couldn't stop it. It made it beat faster, louder, stronger. A beating heart keeps a nation alive. Stand with the fight. Stand for life.
Eccellenze, signore e signori.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our panel, Culture as a Cornerstone of Human Capital Development. This is part of our main conference about the reconstruction of Ukraine. My name is Aruna Gural. I'm the General Director of the ECCROM. We are present in many countries, and we are with our headquarters here in Rome, and we want to keep the cultural heritage alive in every corner of the world. And for me, it's a great honor and a great pleasure to be here today with you to moderate this discussion. A discussion that's very very important, and also it's very helpful. And we see human capital at the center of the reconstruction, because the reconstruction doesn't stop at physical infrastructure. That actually comes second. The first part is to reconstruct people, their vision, their social cohesion, their capability to envision a better future, cemented by the values that determine their identity. At the ICCROM, we support Ukraine ever since 2022, and we have created a first aid team thanks to the Directorate General of the EU, and we have over 300 volunteers from different parts of Ukraine and that are active in many fields. We have developed a rig map based on the GIS that is been developed and that is updated both on monitoring, also working as preventing future risk, and in order to coordinate between different sectors our help. We have an assessment map for risks and damages with our own professionals that we train in order that they can standardize their reporting and that there is a standardized evaluation of damages and of risks with our colleagues from UNESCO and other international organizations. And we hope to help you even further to avoid losing important parts of your cultural heritage and of your population. This is a shared hope, and today I'm here with a prestigious group of leaders from different governments, from academia, and from the civil society. Each of them will help us with their perspective on how culture is developing human capital, how it strengthens resilience, and how it fosters an inclusive and a sustainable recovery. First of all, I'd like to welcome the Italian Minister of Culture, the Honorable Alessandro Giuli. Please join me and open our session. I hope you can hear me. I hope that you can all hear me. Dear Minister Tushesky, dear Mikola, dear European Commissioner Mikalev, dear Minister Robevska, dear Gustavo, dear Director Pickett, Professor Brizet, Dr. Matvichuk, Ms. Timoshenko, dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure and a responsibility, an important one, to welcome you all to the opening of our human capital dimension panel, talking about the human capital development. And with my dear friend Mykola Tochitsky, we wanted this space of debate, of conciliation between governments, international organizations, and civil society representatives, all joined by the endeavor to defend the Ukrainian cultural heritage. I would like to first and foremost thank the European Commissioner Glenn Mikalev, who will speak on behalf of the European community. Then the Director for Culture, the Minister of Culture of Poland, Hanna Wróbecka, and also all others who have accepted our invitation. I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart to the Director of the ICROM, Aruna Gujral, who has accepted graciously to be the moderator for today. And ever since the horrible invasion by Russia in 2022, hundreds and thousands of sites of cultural heritage of Ukraine have been damaged or destroyed. civilians as well as military personnel and religious people. Many cultural heritage sites have been harvested, they have been destroyed. The natural landscape, one of the most beautiful nations of Europe has been destroyed. Every museum has been ransacked, every church has been profanated, and everything that has been sold on the black market is a deep wound in the heart of Ukraine, and first and foremost an attack to our history and culture as Europe, of which Ukraine is an important part, and we couldn't do without her. This is an aggression towards all mankind, to which that exceptional human heritage belongs to, that is the fruit of the labor of the Ukrainian people and of all its different types of societies that have succeeded each other over the course of history. And today we're here to celebrate this, and we want to react to what's happening. We want to keep up the fight. And while in Kiev and many other cities, we hear the echo, even in this very moment, of the Russian attacks, of the drones, and Putin's missiles make the sky rumble. We are here to remind Kiev that it's not alone in its defense and also in the reconstruction of its cultural heritage, which is the highest form of expression of identity of a people. And hence, it is also a strategic target of the assassins in Moscow. We are here to remind our Ukrainian friends that we stand by their side when it comes to rebuilding their cultural institutions, when it comes to resume industrial activity, and when it comes to restore their life, and when it comes to adhering to the EU. Together with Minister Trzynski, we have signed today the Manifesto of Rome for an alliance for cultural resilience, which I invite all of you to read over and over and to sign. It is a programmatic platform for the pledge of international support for Ukraine, because Italy believes that never has culture been so much of a pillar and a form of just civic coexistence, and also an antidote to discrimination and a leverage for sustainable development. Never has it been more important than before. Culture is a crucial element for Ukrainians' development, and it has to be also a tool for the construction of a resilient and lasting peace. When the weapons will be silent under the right circumstances, and this is why that defending culture and reconstructing the Ukrainian cultural heritage must be a priority of the political agenda of European Union and at an international level. Italy has been there, Italy is still there, and Italy will be at the side of the Ukrainian people. We are creating an ample cultural cooperation program, starting with the region of Odessa, of which I'm wearing proudly the symbol on my jacket, after I've talked to the mayor about this pearl of the country. She's historically connected to Italy. At the beginning of the 19th century, 1 out of 10 citizens in Odessa was of Italian descent. Among them was also Giuseppe Garibaldi, the young sailor who has then risen to one of our founding fathers. And this is an example of national resilience for all the world. I've been to Odessa in 2023, so that I could see with my own eyes the wounds inflicted by the Russian invader to our historical statesmen and to the city that has been, together with Italy's help, named by UNESCO as a cultural heritage. And I'd like to go beyond the words I've written down on this paper, because I want to share with you what this meant to me. I have understood two fundamental things. First of all, how incredibly strong life is in Ukraine. It's unsurmountable. I was expecting a scared city, a deserted city. I have seen a city full of young people, full of parents that were bringing the children out to play, a place that's stronger than every bomb. And the second impression I obtained by going there was when the alarm went off. Ever since then, as I've said, and I've told this the mayor of Odessa, I've never stopped having the app on my phone that tells me in real time about every single attack that happens in the oblast, the region of Odessa, and in the city itself. I am connected every day to them, and there's not one day when I'm not aware of what's happening in Odessa. I've heard the alarm go off. I have slept in a hotel that had been destroyed outside, that was now used for population to get into safety. But in the silence after the alarm, before running down 6 floors to get underground, I noticed one thing that the entire humanity, all of humankind, needs to remember. Because we should never doubt about the just cause of human resistance. I've witnessed the silence, a fear with so much dignity that only before the explosion went off can tell someone how frightening war is. We can only tell that by what our grandparents told us, but we have forgotten ourselves what it means to be precarious in your existence, in every single moment of your life, always under the threat of extinction, of death. And that's what I've witnessed. I've witnessed that the following day as well, when I saw the great port of Odessa, which is no longer accessible, with all the sandbags, with the monuments covered, with the sea, and knowing that within that sea in front of us, there was a Russian ship that was connected to a satellite and that had the power to decide over life and death of anyone who was on the shore just by the push of a button and sending a supersonic missile. I have experienced firsthand the precarity of life in the moment when a young Russian man, we don't know if on his own accord or forced by his regime, could have decided in one single moment over my life or death. Whoever listens to the disinformation, whoever is tempted to doubt the just cause of a free Ukraine and a sovereign Ukraine, remember what a person born after the Second World War, but that has experienced what it means to have your life in jeopardy in one of the most beautiful cities of the world. And now I get back to my original text. In order to restore Odessa's cultural institutions, Italy has offered to the Ukrainian authorities to invest 45 million euros. We will restore 6 important sites: the local Philharmonica, the National Art Gallery that I've seen with my own eyes before it fell victim to a brutal attack, the Western Art Museum and the Eastern Art Museum, and the Italian ministry will help with competence, its personnel, and with training programs for the Ukrainian personnel to restore the cultural heritage. Our goal is twofold. On the one hand, we want to help local authorities to revitalize the cultural institutions and historical buildings. On the other side, we want to teach them the competences to work with young people and to help young people to achieve these competences. We have created a digital seminary sequence last year about cultural heritage in order to support more than 200 Ukrainian officials of the field of culture in collaboration with the European, with the EU, and we are also helping ever since 2023 with broadcasting with the European Solidarity Fund to support the broadcasting systems. We have also opened our museums to Ukrainian artists, and there's a series here in the Museum of Civic Society, Museo della Civiltà, here just a couple of steps away, and I invite you from the bottom of my heart to come and witness their work. You will be marveled as well as by the sounds, the melodic sounds of the bandura. And this is just a couple of examples of the collaboration between Ukraine and Italy, two countries that are united and that in the moment of need don't just feel closer to each other, they feel sisters. And our intent is to intensify this collaboration. Also, looking at the intention of the European Union to strengthen Kiev, we need to be once more at their side when defending their sovereignty. We need to help the Ukrainian people to protect its cultural heritage and assist them when it comes to rebuilding, and I'm quoting, "In your own home, there is your own truth, your own strength, your own freedom." These are the words of the Ukrainian poet Taras Shevchenko. Now, I shall quote another sentence from a great German writer of a different time, and that you should not interpret by the letter, but as an allegory, Ernst Jünger. Your house should not be violated. And this is based on the head of a family, man or woman it may be, that surrounded by the children presents himself at the edge of her home, defending them. We are men of peace, we're men of culture, we're men of dialogue. We don't defend with weapons, we defend with culture. Our home is Europe. Our home is Ukraine. Thank you.
Un grazie infinite, signor Ministro Giuli, per le sue.
Thank you very much, Minister Julie, for your exceptional words that you pronounced by heart. His Excellencies, please stay with us here on stage. I invite here His Excellency Minister Taczynski for because Minister Julie is giving Minister Taczynski the reproduction of the ancient statue of the boxer.
Soltanto pochi attimi.
Just a couple of minutes to explain what's that. This is a reproduction of one of the most important sculptures present here in the National Museum, Roman National Museum. Now, our Prime Minister spoke of this. It's called the boxer, and it's a symbol. You will see also in the museum where you will visit that museum. But if you look at this statue, you will find the boxer fatigued, but he's still strong, he's fierce, and he's showing an interior force that only who is fighting for something more important than himself, and it's somebody who is working and is fighting, ready to start and fight over again, never alone.
Grazie ancora.
Thank you very much, Minister Julie. Now I ask to His Excellency Minister Taczynski to stay here with me, and I invite him to take the floor for his speech.
Grazie mille. Dear Aruna, dear Minister Julie, another excellent message, another excellent gift. We started with you to build this coalition, as we already exchanged during our bilateral meeting in Napoli. And after a few months, we had such a coalition in Rome. I hope with a big pressure, we will send this coalition to Brussels. Commissioner Mikalev, ministers, distinguished participants. The Ukraine Recovery Conference is the fourth large-scale event focused on Ukraine's reconstruction that helped us build mechanisms of partnership based on your support, as well as create a shared long-term vision for Ukraine. We must go forward with a clear understanding of what our country should look like after the war and dedicate into the future. Long-term thinking is one of the core traits of national identity that leads nations to success. Countries with the highest rank of human capital are capable of generating strategic and planning their future. I'm thinking about our partners, those experience and active engagement are essential for us to develop a shared, legitimized vision of Ukraine as an integral part of European family, and to implement these visions together. This year, for the first time at the URC, we have a dedicated panel on culture. This is a result of our joint agreements, for which I am especially grateful to Minister Alexandru Giuli. Today, together, we launched a Cultural Resilience Alliance, as already Minister Giuli said, a multilateral platform open to all who share its principles and will support joint efforts to integrate the cultural dimension into long-term recovery and development frameworks. Dear colleagues, dear ministers, dear friends, dear Commissioner, it is essential to find the right approach to transform culture, especially its integral part and aspects such as the value and traditions, into creative national and regional policy and recovery program. Perhaps in 21st century, Ukraine will be the first country in the world to complete such a task, to make a culture as a unified framework for the complete transformation of nation, including its economy, security, international policy, and the humanitarian sector. We are currently working on several multilateral initiatives focused on the preservation of the Ukraine cultural heritage. In February this year, in Uzhhorod, we elaborated the declaration on strengthening cultural sector resilience, supported by 31 countries. One of the key strategic ideas of this document is the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Fund. The creation of such a mechanism to coordinate international and primarily, especially European assistance for preserving and restoring cultural heritage will be based on the existing European experience. I am grateful to the Commissioner Mikalev for the real leadership and organization of the cultural heritage study conducted by the Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. it is very important that beyond funding, this initiative is also about integration in the cultural sphere and the exchange of experience. It allows us to promote Ukrainian cultural heritage as a part of European and global legacy. Clearly, the perspective also of strengthening the international legal protection of our heritage. Together, and I would like to remind, together with my colleagues, ministers, EU Commissioner, and Alif Foundation, we are establishing a new institution, Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Fund, which I already told you must be in Brussels. Today, during this broad discussion with our European partners and Ukrainian opinion leaders on this panel, we must reflect on how cultural building resilience ensures unity and shapes our shared vision for the future. Values, traditions, languages, and cultural assets of different groups must be integrated into this common vision. From practical point of view, we need to promote the support of cultural infrastructure in communities as a space for dialogue and constructive engagement. Ukrainian culture is what gives meaning to Ukraine's recovery. It ensures lasting impact and civil involvement in rebuilding our country. Those cultures we must build on a strategy that leads to unity and support of our European colleagues. This will become the foundation for Ukraine's further development. This will be a Ukrainian foundation, but it means European foundation. Telling that, I would like again to thank all my colleagues, partners, ministers, Commissioner, EU, all countries which help us to organize such a good event in few months. And again, I would like to thank you, dear Minister Julie, dear Alexander. And telling that, I would like to finish by saying, Viva Italia and Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister Tachiski. You are the two hosts of this, and thanks for your words of resilience and for encouragement.
English. As we start our panel of our esteemed speakers, who will share insights on how culture contributes to building human capital, fostering resilience, and enabling recovery. I invite our panelists to take their seats at the podium. Your Excellency, Mr. Glenn Micallef, EU Commissioner for the Intergenerational Fairness, Youth, Culture and Sport. Your Excellency, Ms. Hanna Wróbleńska, Minister of Culture and Natural Heritage of Poland. Ms. Krista Pikat, Director for Culture in Emergency, UNESCO. Professor Fausto Elisei, Deputy Vice Rector of the University of Perugia. Ms. Alexandra Matriluk, Head of the Center for Civil Liberties. Ms. Daria Timoshenko, CEO, Gunia Project. Welcome you all. I hope you can hear me with your headphones. So we'll start now the theme of our panel, culture as a cornerstone of human capital development. So let me begin by calling to the podium Mr. Glenn Micallef, EU Commissioner for Intergenerational Fairness, Youth, Culture and Sports. And Your Excellency, before coming, I'd like you to reflect on my questions. Commissioner, as Ukraine progresses in its pathway to becoming a member of the EU, how does the EU position itself in the protection and restoration of its cultural heritage? Sir, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Good evening, Minister Julie, dear Mikola, colleagues. Look, I believe that Ukrainian culture is European culture. It's part of our shared heritage. And in this moment when Ukrainian culture is under threat, we as Europeans, we have a collective duty to recognize its value and to protect it. Ma prima di procedere, oltre voglio ringraziare.
But before proceeding, I'd like to thank the Mr. Julie and the Italian government for having welcomed us to this splendid city here in Rome, the eternal city.
Of the enduring power of culture. Rome is full of layers of history, of architecture, of art, and every corner of this city speaks to the role that culture plays in shaping our identity, our legacy, but also our democracy. And there could be no more fitting backdrop for this conversation about the role of culture, and no better moment to put culture finally at the top of the agenda. So thank you for your leadership in recognizing the power and the importance of culture, especially in times of war. In Ukraine, we are witnessing a war of aggression. It's physical, it's brutal, it's targeting civilians, but it's also more than that. It's a war of disinformation, it's a war on our values, and it's a war on culture. For more than 3 years, Ukraine and Ukrainian cultural heritage has been under attack. UNESCO has now verified damage to more than 500 cultural heritage sites. And let's be clear about this. This is not accidental. This is not collateral damage. This is a strategic attack. It's a calculated, deliberate attack to erase Ukrainian identity, because the Russian aggressors know something that is fundamental, that nations are not defined by land, they are not defined by territory, they are defined by their values, they are defined by people, they are defined by stories, and they are defined by culture. So if you want to destroy a country, you attack its culture. And yet, today, Ukraine continues to stand strong. Ukraine has defended its people, Ukraine has defended its culture, but Ukraine has also defended our values. Ukraine has shown the world that when a society unites behind its identity, its heritage, and its democratic ideals, it becomes unbreakable. That is why we are here today, to stand with Ukraine, to stand for culture, and to act together. As Commissioner for Culture, I am proud to announce the first ever Team Europe approach in the cultural sector. This is Team Europe for Ukraine. This is Team Europe for Culture. We are uniting our efforts because we know that we are stronger together. And in the face of aggression, as the European Union, as member states, we will not stand still. This initiative that I am announcing today brings together pledges from 25 European Union member states, alongside support from the European Commission. 65 actions in total, structured across 3 key pillars. Protection, 17 actions designed to provide safe storage, shelter, and exhibition spaces for cultural artifacts which are under threat. Conservation, 17 actions focused on documenting and digitalizing cultural heritage. Capacity building, with 31 actions offering training, scholarships, and support to Ukraine's cultural and creative professionals. From emergency training in safeguarding cultural property to conservation and exhibition of Ukrainian artworks to the provision of essential equipment for preservation and restoration, we are with you. I'm also pleased to announce an additional €2 million for the second special Creative Europe call, bringing the total support to Ukraine's cultural and creative sectors this year alone to €7 million. This comes on top of the €48 million which have already been mobilized since the beginning of the war. And just last week, as you said, Minister, I presented the study that will help lay the groundwork for a cultural heritage fund for Ukraine, providing crucial research and policy recommendations. But none of this would have been possible without the unwavering support of European Union member states. So to the Ministers of Culture, two of them present here today, I want to say thank you. Since launching this initiative after our first conversation, Mikola, in Uzhhorod last year, your commitment has been nothing short of extraordinary. Thanks to you, we have today a united front, the first ever Team Europe approach in culture. Let me end with an appeal to artists, to creators, to the cultural community across Europe. Thank you for standing with Ukraine. Thank you for being tireless advocates for our shared values. But now you must help us carry the message even further. Help us multiply initiatives like this one. Help us build a Europe that stands together in culture, just as it does in diplomacy, in defense, and in democracy. Because culture builds resilience, it preserves values, it passes on memories and meaning across generations. And when we invest in culture, we invest in people, we invest in ideas. As Victor Hugo said, nothing else in the world, not all the armies, is so powerful as an idea whose time has come. Let us remember that culture too is an idea rooted in freedom, in dignity, and in creativity. Backing it is an act of preservation, it's an act of defiance, it's an act of hope. And ultimately, it's an investment in a stronger, freer, more resilient tomorrow. Grazie, and Slava Ukraina.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I may ask you to stay a few seconds more on the podium, and I call upon Your Excellency Minister Toczynski for convening the file of the Team Europe for Cultural Heritage in Ukraine, as Commissioner mentioned in his speech. Thank you very much for the sign of commitment and pledges. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your excellent speech and intervention. So, without further ado, let me ask Her Excellency Ms. Hanna Wróblewska, Minister of Culture and National Heritage of Poland, to come and take the floor. And while you are coming, it's not too far, please, Minister, think about that. Poland's own history offers powerful lessons about the role of culture in national resilience. How do those lessons shape Poland's support for Ukraine's cultural sector today? Thank you, Minister. You can come to the podium.
Dear Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, friends of Ukraine. Thank you, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak during this important and very symbolic panel. It's a great honor, but also it's a great responsibility to speak today about culture in the context of Ukraine's recovery. I am deeply convinced, like we all, I think, that culture cannot be overlooked in this recovery process. This is not a soft topic for hard times. On the contrary, culture is the very space where values, identity, and community are shaped. Without it, no society can be rebuilt, neither physically nor spiritually. That is why today I want to speak very clearly. Defending territory without defending national culture would be ultimately meaningless. A nation cannot be strong on military and economic strength alone. The true strength of a nation flows from its spirit. And that spirit is shaped through culture, through language, through tradition, through culture education, through art. And Poland knows this truth very well. For over 100 years, exactly 123 years, we were absent from the political map of Europe, but we existed through culture. Culture was the thread of continuity, our anchor of survival. As our national anthem declares, our national song declares, Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła. That means Poland has not yet perished. And the Ukrainian anthems begins in the strikingly similar way. Jeszcze nie wmerła Ukraina. Ukraina has not yet died. This is not the coincidence, it's our common experience. Culture is not luxury, it's a strength, it's a strategic resource, it's a tool for building a modern civil society. It was already told here, but it's never, we can repeat it again and again. Culture cultivates critical thinking, empathy, and a sense of responsibility. Through culture, we learn not only to speak, but to engage in a meaningful dialogue. That is why it is essential that for the future Ukraine, modern, democratic, and European, has a culture that is alive, supported, and protected. From the very beginning of the war, Poland has actively supported Ukraine on many fronts. Cultural support has also been an integral part of that assistance. Let me just highlight a few examples. We are here in Italy, so I would like to mention the biennial in Venice, last biennial of art in Venice last year, when the Polish pavilion invited to the pavilion the Ukrainian group, which is called Open Group, with the beautiful and very meaningful video installation about witnesses of the ongoing war. We wanted to remind the public, we wanted to remind all the world that there is still war ongoing in the Ukraine. We are supporting also the digital preservation of Ukrainian cultural heritage, helping museums digitize the collection to ensure that even in the face of the destruction, memory, identity, and educational value of these works are preserved. We have also the special institute, the Polonika Institute, who is working with Ukrainian partners on a program to train restorers, conservators, with the goal of building a professional conservation service that will be essential to restoring cultural heritage and guiding for country's recovery. This project is carried out in collaboration with the Academy of Fine Arts and Polytechnic in Lviv. And it also aims as well to implement European Union standards for the conservation and restoration of artworks and cultural heritage objects as a part of the pre-accession process. And so on. But what I would like to underline that this cooperation is not one-sided. We, Poland, we also learning from our Ukrainian colleagues, from our Ukrainian partners. Based on their experience, our National Institute for Museums has developed recommendations for museums when preparing for crisis and war. It's published on our website also in English. So these efforts are not merely gestures of goodwill. They are acts of solidarity grounded in a shared understanding of the role of the culture in resilience and resistance. because we know that Russia is attacking not only people and infrastructure, but also memory, language, and symbols in an attempt to erase Ukrainian identity. And I underline, first Ukrainian identity, then Polish identity, and then European identity. It's our common fight. Ladies and gentlemen, the reconstruction of the Ukraine is a monumental challenge, but also a profound opportunity. An opportunity to build a society that is resilient, open, and creative. There can be no strong Ukraine without a strong culture, and Poland will remain present in this process as a partner, and as neighbor, and as friend. Mikołaj, thank you. I promise.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for your word, your speech, for the rich cultural heritage you have in Poland too, and of course for your solidarity partnership with Ukraine. And as you said, culture is not luxury. Culture is a very strategic resource. Thank you again, and let me now, for the sake of time, move to Ms. Krista Picat, Director of Culture in Emergency in UNESCO. Krista, while you are coming, let me ask you, could you explain how UNESCO on-the-ground cultural heritage efforts could be integrated into long-term recovery? What are the lessons you have learned, and what else can be done? Come.
Thank you very much, Arona, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen. It's really truly an honor for me to participate in this roundtable on behalf of UNESCO, and to also pay tribute to the very rich and diverse culture sector, creative industries of Ukraine that carries the heart and soul of Ukrainian people. Many of these sites, for instance, are included in UNESCO's World Heritage List, many elements in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Lviv and Odessa are part of UNESCO's Creative Cities Network. So there are reasons for us to celebrate, but there are also reasons for us to be concerned and deeply troubled, because we see and we have confirmed that the impact of the ongoing war and the full-scale invasion by the Russian Federation of Ukraine has had a very serious impact on the culture sector in Ukraine. Within the UN Rapid Damage and Needs Assessment, UNESCO, working alongside with the other UN agencies, estimated the losses in the cultural and tourism sectors at $26 billion. As was mentioned, UNESCO has verified damage to cultural heritage sites, and the number today stands at 505 cultural sites, including 151 religious buildings, 266 buildings of historical and cultural interest, 34 museums, 33 monuments, 18 libraries, 2 archaeological sites, and 1 archive. UNESCO has stood at Ukraine's side from the very beginning, from February 2022. And it's not only to respond to urgent needs, but also to start the recovery of the culture sector. And we've been able to do that thanks to the support of Italy, Spain, the European Union, but not only Europe. We have also had considerable support from Japan, Spain, Poland, Canada, and many other countries. This has allowed us to stay engaged, to monitor and document the impact of the war on the culture sector and the heritage sites, to support urgent works, to build capacities of cultural heritage professionals and stakeholders, support the development of risk preparedness plans for the World Heritage Sites, support artists and creative sector through grants as a means of strengthening their livelihoods, but also as a source of resilience for communities, support the digital transformation of the Ministry of Culture and the culture sector, but also, and importantly, by coordinating the international actors alongside with the ministry. UNESCO plays an important role also at the international level by advocating for the role that culture plays in countries, in any country's recovery, flagging the importance of culture and creativity. Culture, as has been said, defines who we are. It is really the heart of our identity as human beings. It represents the traditions and practices and beliefs that we need to transmit to our future generations in order for us to have a future for the country. It also provides comfort in situations of emergency. And this is why we believe that culture has to play an important role in all its forms and expressions in recovery. Culture is not only a victim, it is also a powerful engine for recovery. Cultural heritage sites and creative industries are important levers for the development of sustainable tourism. They also are considered globally as a very dynamic sector, generating income opportunities mostly for women and the youth. And this is why, of course, we build the capacities of cultural professionals, artists, and we are very proud also to work with the authorities at the national level, but also the municipality in Lviv, where we established a culture hub where we have trained 2,200 persons through activities. You mentioned the damage assessment form that we elaborated with ICROM. We have benefited also from support from the World Bank to develop a city reconstruction and recovery framework. This really allows us to use the resources, the knowledge that is available at international level by supporting Ukraine. So UNESCO's commitment is the following. We continue to stand by you. We continue to provide support in the review of a legal framework, in the establishment and maintenance of the recovery support unit, by building capacities. Here I'm happy to also announce a new initiative that will be launched in September, where together with the Lviv National Academy of Arts and the City Council and the Ministry and the Eberhard Schöck Stiftung Foundation of Germany, we are starting the first training for restorers that will participate in the recovery. And last but not least, UNESCO is also very proud to be part of the Culture Resilience Alliance and stay with Ukraine. Thank you very much for your participation and your attention.
Thank you so much, Krista, for all that UNESCO is doing, and mentioning also, of course, what UNESCO and ICROM are doing together for ICROM and UNESCO to support continuously Ukraine and Ukraine professionals. So for sake of time, I need to ask the speakers to be a bit shorter, but of course not to lose the content. So in this regard, I may ask Professor Fausto Elisei, Deputy Vice Rector of the University of Perugia, to come and join me and to please tell us, Professor, something about the project, a very important project, development of an integrated and sustainable heritage management system for the city of Odessa, very generously financed by the Italian government. Please, Professor, if you can be succinct as possible.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I thank I prefer to switch to Italian, so I will be.
I will be able to be a bit more concise if I speak in Italian. Well, I'd like to first thank the Ministry of Culture for inviting us to participate at this great event. And I'd like to express my most sincere gratitude to the Italian institutions and to the Ukrainian institutions, and to all those institutions that have contributed in a fundamental way in a short time delivery of a great result, of a solution that is quite complex, which is called a sustainable and integrated UNESCO cultural heritage system, management system and this is financed by AIX based on the standards that are in place internationally, with almost 1 billion of budget for 36 months. We have the ambitious goal to augment resilience and the preservation of Odessa's cultural and natural heritage. This will be done by an international partnership between Ukraine and Italy with the University of Perugia and the University of Genova, as well as the city of Odessa, the technical committee of the International Organization for the Standardization, and the National Organization for Tourism of Ukraine. The partnership will coordinate the initiative henceforth, and it will see the collaboration between all players. The UNESCO site of Odessa has a large surface of more than 12 hectares, and of course the exposure to risk for this particular site have worsened with the increasing criticality of the social military situation. Today, the city requires a management system that is in line with the historical and artistical characteristics of the area and supported by the most modern and cutting-edge digital technologies for restoration, as well as for the promotional and fostering tools that we have. We want to be inclusive. We want to promote participation as much for local public as well as for international public in the form of tourism, and we want to also exert control over the area and make it safe. The prospect of Ukraine joining the EU and the acknowledgement of the cultural value at an international level has also yielded us with the necessity to start a harmonization process when it comes to the national norms about cultural and natural heritage, and to have a harmonization of international standards, which means that we also have the opportunity to update our current legal system, a framework, pardon me. So we have two main objectives. First of all, we want to create an integrated and sustainable system for the management of the Odessa UNESCO site with governments, structures and a risk management plan, and also the harmonization of the Ukrainian legislation with regards to the management of cultural and natural heritage with the European one. So we look at all dimensions of the management of cultural and natural heritage, from the development of scientific and technological documentation comprising digitalization, which will be the underlying layer of governance and participation of the public in order to create a management authority, looking in this process also at the legal and the legal dimension within the framework of which the system needs to operate, and hence further increasing the harmonization of the Ukrainian legislation to the European one. After those 3 years of the project, for the development of the project, the management will be integrated within the urban planning, the long-term urban planning, and within the resilience plan, including also plans for risk decrease and protecting it against climate change and natural catastrophes and disasters. We have made a conscientious choice, and we want it to be a stable basis for a lasting effort that is joint in nature for the reconstruction and the imagining and the envisioning of a future for Ukraine through a working management and a helpful legal framework. Thank you very much for listening.
Grazie infinite, professore, grazie ancora per aver...
Thank you, Professor, for explaining the project, and also thanks to the Italian government for providing the funding, and we wish you all the best for it.
The following speakers to be as short but as successful as possible. Of course, our Ukrainian friends. Absolutely. Let me call on the podium Ms. Alexandra Matvicic, head of the Center for Civil Liberties. Alexandra, let me ask you, are cultural rights, cultural identity, an integral part of human rights?
Yesterday, I bought online a lot of Ukrainian books from one publishing house. This Ukrainian publishing house was completely destroyed just several days ago after deliberate Russian shellings. So I and a lot of other people in Ukraine bought books from them. We do this every time when Russian rocket hit another Ukrainian publishing house. We buy books that were damaged or completely burned because we want Ukrainian publishing houses to exist. Because in this war, one of the main targets is Ukrainian culture. I know what I'm talking about because I'm documenting war crimes. We have more than 88,000 episodes in our database. Putin openly says, there is no Ukrainian nation, there is no Ukrainian language, there is no Ukrainian culture. For 11 years, we are documenting how these words converted in horrible practice. Russians physically exterminate Ukrainian cultural elite, children writers, musicians, artists, teachers, scientists. They rob Ukrainian museums, exhibitions, libraries. They damaged and destroyed Ukrainian cultural heritage. And when they take Ukrainian children to Russia, they put them in Russian re-education camps. They told them that they are not Ukrainian children, they are Russian children. Their families refused from them, and they will be supposed to be adopted by Russian families who will bring them up as Russians. So let's be clear, culture is an essential part of national security. This war has a clear genocidal character. I'm a lawyer, and I know that genocide is a crime of crimes. It's very difficult to be proven. But there is no necessity to be a lawyer to understand a simple thing. If you want, partially or completely, destroy some national group, there is no necessity to kill all representatives. You can just forcibly erode their culture and their identity, and entire national group will disappear. So I'm here to say that we need your solidarity. I hope that just in near future, we will be able to launch thousands and thousands common cultural projects to save, to restore, to develop. If we lose Ukrainian publishing houses and museums, if Russia continues to kill Ukrainian artists and Ukrainian writers, if we fail to protect Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian identity, we will cease to exist. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Machushkin. Thank you for your words. We heard you loud and clear. Let me conclude, but as one of the most important to my heart topic, bring into the business and creative sector component of this panel. Ms. Daria Timoshenko, CEO of the Gunya Project. Daria, while are you coming, let me ask you, is investing in creative economy a concrete solution for Ukrainian recovery and reconstruction and for the future of the young Ukrainians?
Thank you, Aruna. Thanks to everyone who is here today and who supports Ukraine. We know that culture is a strong tool of soft power. That's why we in Gunya Project, as business, we want to build a strong Ukrainian brand that will provide and promote the beauty of our culture. And Gunya was born as a product of pure love for Ukrainian culture when two young women discovered museum archives with Ukrainian culture and our identity and fell in love. And they wanted to show it outside of Ukraine and tell all over the world how beauty is our culture. Today, Gunya Project is one of the most renowned Ukrainian brands, not only in Ukraine, but internationally. We develop Ukrainian traditions among the young generation, making trendy and stylish things for everyday life. And our ambition is to create real, beautiful brand of Ukraine. Today, we serve as a voice for Ukrainian culture, showcasing its beauty and uniqueness alongside other Ukrainian brands such as Ruslan Baginsky, who just a few days ago amazed Paris and all over the world by taking over all 12 windows of Galerie Lafayette with unique installation representing Ukrainian art, Ukrainian artisanal craft and techniques. This is inspiring, and by doing this, this makes people fall in love with Ukrainian culture. We support and involve artisans from all over the Ukraine, helping to preserve and pass down unique traditions and techniques that are part of our national identity. By doing this, we create jobs and support traditions that might otherwise be lost. I am proud that our work unites as a nation and inspires love for Ukrainian culture. If we want to preserve our statehood, we must invest in the development of culture and the preservation of national identity. This is not only the duty of the state, but also the mission of every socially responsible business. At Gunya, we do this every day, creating beauty that unites people and makes them stronger. We think that we can keep fighting for people's minds, but only culture is a key to people's hearts. Thank you.
Maria, thank you for your words and for indeed telling us the creative economy is development and our heritage is our future. For the sake of time, and I would like to announce that you are all invited now to a reception at the presence of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Italy, Mr. Sergio Mattarella. We will now have to conclude this very interesting panel. We would have loved to hear more comments and questions, but we can continue absolutely to do so outside, as I said during the reception. So let me thank you all, Minister Julie, Minister Tochenko, Minister and Commissioner, Minister of Poland, all the speakers. As Ukraine moves forward on its recovery path, let's continue to invest in its people and in their capacity and into Ukraine's culture, not as an afterthought, but as a foundation for a more just, resilient, and inclusive future. Investing in capacity building in cultural heritage is not charity. It is a very strategic, long-term investment. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you so much.